Alrighty everyone, welcome back to our finals of the Gaming Arena Set Champs. We've got Jordan on the right playing Ruby Amethyst against Alan on the left playing his cool Sapphire Steel deck. We're just getting our mulligans happening here, so we've seen both of these players' deck lists already. Jordan in round 3 and Alan in round 4. So if you've missed the deck list and interested as to what they look like, go back and check out those videos. Because right now we're getting stuck into the action. Alan definitely wanting to be looking for that nice curve. Something like a Mickey Mouse into Smee, into Alice, into Pluto. The perfect curve is what Alan will be after here. Jordan just going to want to try and stay in the game as long as he can until he gets to that be prepared to try and take out the board. Because Alan having a lot of ward characters is going to make it difficult for his targeted removal, such as the Elsa to exert characters or the Brawl. But things like a be prepared will go straight through that, so definitely going to be what he will be looking for. And interestingly, things like that be prepared, bit of a double-edged sword because it will clear Jordan's side of the board as well. And we know Alan runs those McDuck manners, which playing those after the be prepared I believe will be his key to success. We do see the McDuck manor there in the hand. Looks like Alan might be going first in this game, so definitely the advantage he likes to start with. So the Robin Hood here for Alan. Wonder if he's got that shift in hand, as that's also another good option for keeping this board under control. Because even if Jordan does play the be prepared to clear the board, I don't think Alan would be too upset, as he could just play down his McDuck manners the turn after, and with a huge 9 willpower, going to be difficult for Jordan to deal with an empty board. Something like a Maui and a Crab will take it out, but apart from that, it's going to be quite tricky. See the Baymax Ink coming in for Alan. And play the Smee, so pretty good curve here already for Alan. Not going to be questing with the Robin Hood. I'm a bit unsure about that. Probably should have quested here. I don't think this broom's going to be putting too much pressure on, and as we all know in these games, it can come down to one law, so every little bit helps. I could definitely understand if it was going into a 3-ink turn where you're worried about a fox or a crab, but with just this broom on board, not much pressure coming in against the Robin Hood, so probably should have quested there. He's actually going to banish the broom as well. So interestingly, the Jordan banished the broom there. Maybe it was looking for another card. Something like a fox for next turn, but does have that Queen of Hearts in hand, so that's going to be very useful taking out that Smee next turn after it gets a damage from itself. Alan inking the McDuck manor, so probably running out of inkables here. And interestingly, Alan chooses to quest now with the Robin Hood. I definitely would have liked to see it quest last turn as well, or even instead of, as you are definitely in a bit of strife here if it comes down and starts clearing. But I imagine we're going to see something like a Queen of Hearts come to take out this Smee. Now that Queen of Hearts challenging the Smee, or the fox coming into the Robin Hood. Probably a little bit more concerned about the Robin Hood here. He's going to banish the broom again. Maybe just looking for an important card here. Not quite sure what he was looking for, but probably would have liked to see that broom stay on the board. Now, good choice here by Jordan not taking out the Robin Hood. I think Alan questing with the Robin Hood, maybe a little bit of mind games going on, but probably shows that he doesn't have the shift. Otherwise, he probably would have wanted to protect that a bit more. Does actually have the shift Robin Hood, so Alan out here playing the mind games, confusing Jordan into making potentially a suboptimal play here, but Alan executing those mind games perfectly now, and this Robin Hood in play is going to be quite difficult for Jordan to remove this turn. Brawl won't be able to touch it. Can't play a Madame Medusa just yet. And that Maui is still a turn away, so just going to have to be a rabbit. Alrighty Now, Alan, let's see what he has here for 4. That Robin Hood just going to be questing for 2. So it did ink a 4 cost, so... Okay, so I quite like seeing this McDuck Manor coming here now. Having that 6 willpower Robin Hood, you're already putting on a lot of pressure. And if you were to use characters to challenge into it, the Robin Hood can just come in and start taking them out. And so we're just going to see the Singing Friends from Jordan here. Just looking for a few more cards. But I definitely think a priority is taking out this McDuck Manor very soon before it gets out of control. And unfortunately, Ruby Amethyst not having many cards that I can think of that can banish locations. Nothing like a Hideaway. Nothing like a Rise of the Titans. Nothing like an Avalanche. Nothing like that to help remove these guys. So, might be a bit tricky outside of like a Maui and challenging. So we see the Queen of Hearts here. So, having that exerted is a nice easy challenge for Robin Hood to get another 2 lore and 2 from the McDuck Manor. So, Alan going to be jumping ahead to 11 this turn. For 5 would be interesting if you had a Baymax in hand. Another McDuck Manor. So having 2 here and Jordan having a less than ideal board. Going to be quite different and difficult for Alan. Difficult for Jordan, sorry, to take out these locations. I imagine Alan will probably just trade into the Queen here. Not wanting to give Jordan that free draw with the rabbit, and also taking less damage in the process. Or same damage actually. So maybe the rabbit should have been taken out there, especially since Jordan can bounce it with the fox and snake to draw even more cards, but Jordan already having a lot of cards in hand. 7, I think, so, or 6. So even if he is drawing more cards, you're probably not too concerned. But Jordan's definitely going to need to start taking these out. Maybe something like a Tremaine coming down here. Yep, take out that Robin Hood, and fortunately Alan won't get the draw. So Alan not going to be able to draw a card because it wasn't banished in a challenge, it was banished by an ability. So this McDuck Manor's still going to get another 2 this turn. Going up to 15. But next turn Jordan is going to be at that 7, so Alan probably going to want to go wide here. And you might be thinking, that's a bit weird, why would you go wide going into a Be Prepared turn? But Jordan doesn't currently have enough to start taking these McDucks out, so Jordan's going to have to choose whether he plays a Rush character or a Be Prepared and removes his own board. And I think Alan wants to give him that choice. We see the Scrooge come down. Does have 1 ink left. Is he going to move it into the Manor? Very canonical. He's thinking about it. Go on, Alan, do it for the fans. And he just passes. He doesn't do it. I'm pretty sure McDuck Manor is a 1 cost to move into, so Alan really letting down the team a little bit there, but that's alright. We can forgive him for that. Technically, it didn't make any difference to the game state, so. And now we see by Alan only going with 1 character. Pretty easy choice for Jordan just to try and banish this location instead of playing that Be Prepared. So these McDuck Manor is definitely getting a good chunk of lore. Something like 8, I think. I wonder if Jordan had another Tremaine in hand. Because if that was the case, probably could have cleared this Scrooge as well by shifting the Tremaine on and holding that fox instead. Let's see if that Tremaine's in hand. Don't believe I can see it, so. But if that was the case, Jordan, I think definitely should have been shifting the Tremaine instead of bouncing the rabbit, perhaps. just having those two Tremaines back in hand is definitely very valuable in this matchup, being able to clear these characters as they come down and not wait for them to be exerted. And we see that Cogsworth come down, so Alan going up to 17, where Jordan could have actually cleared this Scrooge as well. Yep, we do see the Tremaine there, so Jordan definitely could have cleared that Scrooge last turn. Alan would have only been at 15. And this Cogsworth coming down, those Tremaines would have been in hand instead of that rabbit. And then you could have banished it again, so it looks like it's going to be a B prepared here. So, not necessarily something you want to be doing, but we have seen Alan play 3 McDucks already, so you're not too concerned about the locations coming down, but more so losing that Tremaine from the B prepared. Would have liked to have seen him hold on to that. Alan very close now, but if he just gets 2 characters down, one that's a little less important, then that Tremaine won't be doing too much. Ooh, and the Doc coming in at the perfect time for Alan, able to draw 2 more cards. Alan doesn't quite have enough to win next turn. Jordan only having access to 1 Tremaine now means it's going to be pretty tough for him to clear this board enough. And now I think the issue here for Jordan is that every character that Alan plays, he won't be able to deal with until after it is quest for the most part. Which means anything that Alan puts down, he's going to get that much lore. We see the Tremaine come down now, just dealing with that 1-3 character. Not what you want your Tremaine to be doing, but don't think Jordan has much of a choice now. I imagine he's going to have to bounce it back with something like a snake here so he can play it again next turn. And that snake will be able to take out the John Silver. So Alan already played this matchup once in top 8 and he did win. So let's see if he can do it again here in the finals. It's looking pretty good in the first game for him. Now we see here Alan did miss out on a quest early on in the game with that Robin Hood, and he's only 1 away here. Does have a Tremaine here, so Alan could actually be winning this turn if he did quest with that Robin Hood early on. So we just see how much of a difference. Okay, looks like this Fox is going to come in and take out the John Silver here, saving that Tremaine for next turn. Again, just showing the importance of how crucial that 1 lore can be. When games come down this tight, you definitely need to make sure you're using every bit of advantage you can get. So see the Ink of Robin Hood. Another Cogsworth coming down. Choosing not to quest with this John Silver. I quite like this here because Alan knows there is a Tremaine in hand. So if that John Silver were to quest, then Jordan's characters could take out the John Silver and then the Tremaine would have to banish the Cogsworth, leaving Alan with no cards on the board again. So quite clever here, leaving both these characters non-exerted. I imagine we're going to have to see if friends come down and hope to draw into a B prepared for Jordan. Unfortunately, it looks like he doesn't have a friends in hand. And if he plays this rabbit, he's going to not have enough ink to play the B prepared, so it's looking like it's going to be a game 1 to Alan here. Thankfully that Robin Hood not questing earlier in the game didn't come back and hurt him in the later stages of the game, but Jordan definitely not shifting that Lady Tremaine onto his other Lady Tremaine something a lot of players miss is that you can actually shift a character onto the same character. So Jordan not having that shift character onto the Tremaine there and clearing Alan's board whilst also bringing both Tremaines back to hand probably cost him that game there. Let's see if he can bring it back in the next two games though, as he will be able to go first in the next one, which will make it a bit easier against this aggro deck. But Alan winning the first one means that he'll get to go first twice in this series. Definitely a big advantage in this matchup. Let's see how Jordan changes his players in game 2 to try and claw it back. Alrighty, we are getting into our game 2 after Alan has won game 1. Jordan will be going first. Let's see what he's got in his hand. Doesn't look like he has any 1-drops at the moment, so going to try and want to mulligan heavy for that. Queen of Hearts can be quite good in this matchup, so I imagine he's going to hold on to the Queen and maybe hold on to the Crab as well, as might try and find something like a 1-cost Diablo. Yep. That Queen there as well. Probably would like to see him hold on to the Queen. Yeah, I definitely would like to see Jordan hold on to that Queen of Hearts there. Things like a Smee after a quest being able to take it out, or even a Robin Hood. Interesting to note that from last game, maybe Alan not questing from the Robin Hood was a sign that he knew Jordan played these Queen of Hearts, as there's not many Ruby Amethyst decks out there playing it, so not normally much of a threat on turn 2, but maybe Alan already knowing a bit about Jordan's list, showing why he didn't want to quest there. So we did see Jordan draw into the Diablo, but unfortunately doesn't have that Queen on turn 2. Not as important going second, but I think still good to have that board presence. Especially since in order to play the Snake, you do need to bounce the Diablo back to hand. But Snake will be able to take out all of the 1-drop characters that Alan has, so... Fortunately, Jordan drawing into that Snake. And we see Alan again having that Robin Hood in play. I imagine we're going to see something like a Quest, Ink, and Snake this turn. Snake will be able to take out the Robin Hood and not be banished itself, so Alan probably not going to be questing with it next turn, I would imagine. See the Ink of the Friends. Jordan does already have that Rabbit in hand, so going to have plenty of draw options with another Snake and Fox in hand already, I believe. So Snake already putting on a lot of board pressure here, sort of preventing Alan from questing, unlike last game. So Alan going to probably want to keep this Robin Hood ready. See the game 2 getting inked here. The old Captain Cranky Head. Now this Calhoun, definitely a nice card for Alan going second here. Means Jordan's not going to be able to crest as aggressively as he would like, with that Calhoun putting on that pressure to challenge and gain 2 lore every time it banishes a character. I imagine we might see something like this Library come down this turn, as you don't really want to be playing something like that Fox. As we saw last game, Alan did have that John Silver, and we do see the Library come down, so you may have seen in the top 8 match that Alan played, and if you haven't, make sure to go check it out, but the Fox coming down a turn early meant that Alan could play the John Silver and prevent it from challenging the turn after. I imagine we'll see this turn Alan will challenge into the Snake to take it out, and hopefully has that shift to start dealing with this Library. Might even just go the Robin Hood into the Snake instead, just to preserve some characters on board, but I imagine the Snake will come down to banish it next turn. Interesting, Alan plays the P tier. Probably doesn't have any other good 3-drop characters to play. since there's not really many good actions that Jordan would want to be playing other than a brawl, perhaps. As the friends wouldn't be too useful, as you probably want to develop your board a bit more first. Again, we see Alan not questing with the Robin Hood or challenging, just worried about that fox coming down. I think that's fair enough, as we do know that Jordan did have that Diablo in hand from turn 2 when he bounced it with the snake. And you'd have to think that Jordan would have a fox in his hand by this stage. He knows the matchup, he knows what cards are important, would be holding on to that fox for later. Something like a Pluto here. Ooh, we see the McDuck Manor come down, so not a terrible time to put it into play, but Jordan already having a character in play means that the fox can come down quite easily. Not quite at that 6 ink turn, but we'll still be able to put a bit of a dent into this manor. Again, I like not questing with the Robin Hood here, as the rabbit would just be able to trade favourably, but potentially this Pete may have been better going into the library, as getting a lore every turn for Jordan. Now see, the power of these rush characters quite easily taking down this McDuck Manor. Now if Alan had challenged into this library last turn, would be able to banish it with the Pete and Robin Hood, as Jordan probably wanting to prioritise this mana a bit more. Something like a shift would be really good for Alan here. Something for a Pluto would be cool here. We do see that Pluto come down, so Alan probably going to start challenging with these characters now. Probably would have liked to see it go into the library a bit more, I think. This library is going to prove quite an issue as well. I don't know if Jordan has any rush characters to take this McDuck Manor down, though, unfortunately. Oh, he does have a fox there, but does he have anything that costs 3 to play it? And now we just see here the importance of not necessarily inking your 1-drop characters after the first few turns, as you might think that once you've used all your ink to play your 1-drops in the early game, you might want to ink them to start playing some of your higher cost characters, but they can still be quite useful at this stage of the game. Being able to play a 1-drop when you have no characters in play and then bounce it back to hand with the fox again. And you also just get a very efficient use of your ink. Say you play a 2-drop and a 3-drop, but you've got 1 left over, you can always fill that board with a 1-drop character. Now I believe Jordan here is thinking that he can't challenge into that location because of the Pluto Bodyguard, but Bodyguard only protects your other characters, so this McDuck Manor is still vulnerable to challenges, but I believe Jordan not realizing that and just thinking about how he's going to get through this Pluto so he can start taking out that mana. As I imagine a play like a crab into fox to take out this mana is definitely what you want to be doing. I thought Jordan had already inked this turn, but maybe he hasn't. Now the fox here should definitely challenge into the mana and take it out. I think Jordan not realizing that he can actually challenge it, so giving up 2 lore here. That's why it's always important to read your opponent's cards, because the Bodyguard does say whenever your opponent tries to challenge another character. So Alan here, I think, should have 1 less law and 3 on the library instead. So now that Pluto would have been able to take it out, but unfortunately, the library is still sticking around and going to offer a lot of draw for Jordan. And they're going to be able to quest for 2 here. I wonder if Pluto will start to take out. Oh, and we do see that strength come in. A very nice card here for Alan is that 4 strength fox with rush and being banished. So Jordan got a lot of draw in hand, but not necessarily a lot of things to clear the board. Could play that big Sisu and clear everything except for the Pluto. But this mana is still going to be getting 2 lore every turn. Looks like he's eyeing up the Sisu. Next turn, Alan going to be jumping to 12. Alan going to be getting another 2 off the mana here. Something like another mana could be really interesting here for Alan. Maybe even another 2-drop alongside it like a Smee. It's always interesting deciding whether to challenge into your opponent's locations, because this library is getting 1 lore every turn. I think it's gained about 3 already. But Alan could have just sacrificed 2 lore to have banished it already. So I think not challenging this library earlier has definitely made it a bit difficult for Alan to have a favourable lore gain against Jordan. That being that the library is gaining more than what Alan would have had to have sacrificed to take it out. Alright, I imagine we're going to see something like a Sisu trade and Tremaine. And Sisu going into the library first to draw that extra card. At this stage of the game, library being a card that just basically says pay 1, draw a card is very powerful. And we do see the Sisu go into the library, so Sisu trading 3 characters for 1 and drawing a card. Very powerful for Jordan here. Now I imagine something like a Tremaine to clear this Robin Hood. You definitely probably would like something like a Brawl instead. Does actually have a rabbit in hand, so could go rabbit, try and draw into a fox. Didn't grab a fox, unfortunately. Probably just going to see this other library come down, I would have thought. And Jordan correctly moving the rabbit into the non-damaged library. I think this McDuck mana again has gotten another 6 or maybe even 8 lore this game. Again, locations have been out of the format for a little bit. So it's interesting to see them come back in and the changes that players will have to make to their decks in order to counter them. We might see a few more Maui demigods coming into the Ruby decks, or Hideaway coming into the Sapphire decks to try and deal with these. I know I definitely got run over by Alan in my top 4 game against him with the manas, not having those high strength characters to try and take him out. Unfortunately, Alan just finding a little bit late to deal with these locations. Jordan may start running away with it. So the McDuck with 6 left on it. Jordan going to need to play something like a crab first. And then this Tremaine to clear the board. Going to make it very difficult for Alan to come back from this one, I would have thought, only being on 13. Can play cards like Alice, which has Ward. But Jordan still having access to Tremaine means that that can get around the Ward effect and banish the character anyway. There we see the Tremaine come down, completely clearing Alan's board. And every turn, Jordan's going to be getting 2 more lore from the libraries. I think if there's anything to take away from this game, it's the fact that locations are back. We're going to have to start respecting them. Otherwise, you can just run away with the game because of them. We see Alan unfortunately just playing 5 for a grab your sword. Not what you want to be doing, especially when it doesn't take out any of the characters on Jordan's side. So Jordan going to be going up to 15 this turn, at least. Does have the option for goats and bounce in hand still. Might even just sing this friends here, I think. Yep. Just wanting to draw into some more goats and more bounce. Did you just see a rabbit? And here we see 3 rabbits on the board for Jordan. 1 off that magic 4 number. And he's just going to keep drawing cards. Filtering through that deck, trying to find those removal options. I guess the only thing you're really looking for here as Jordan is some more Madam Mims to bounce the characters and Lady Tremaine to banish some of Alan's board when they come down. Because you don't really want to be prepared your own board, but if you did, not the end of the world. You would be drawing 5 cards at the moment. 3 from the rabbits and 2 from the library. Oh. Jordan just flipped over his cards there from the Inkwell. Not a big deal there. A little bit of information gained, but for both players. $13 apiece, but this game does not feel close at all. Jordan having a commanding board presence here. And Alan just a couple cards in hand and nothing on the board. Jordan currently questing for 8 plus 2 from the library means Alan would have to clear quite a few characters, and I don't think his deck will be doing that. But we see another grab your sword, so Jordan just going to be needing a goat to finish it off here, with 2 from the library going to 15 and 4 from the characters questing going to 19. 1 goat will seal it up for Jordan here, because Alan, only having 1 ink left, won't be able to play anything else. And there we go, we see Jordan revealing the goat here and taking game 2 in a commanding fashion. Alan just unfortunately not dealing with that location a little bit earlier, I think might have cost him the game there. But Jordan just having all of the answers to any of Alan's cards, making it very difficult for him to come back. Very cool deck here from Alan. And we see the players here just discussing that Bodyguard does not protect the location. So fortunately it didn't matter for Jordan, but he could have been challenging that location very early on. So I think that would have just helped him win by an even bigger margin, but fortunately not impacting the game result. Alrighty, let's see how we go with Alan going first again. I think Jordan's going to have his work cut out for him in the 3rd game of the finals. Let's see how our players do. Alrighty, we're getting into the 3rd and final game here of the Set Champs at Gaming Arena. Alan won game 1, Jordan won game 2, and in game 3 Alan will be going first. Definitely going to be a big advantage for his Sapphire Steel aggro deck. Let's see if he's able to capitalize on it. And how will Jordan go, stopping him and slowing him down enough to crawl back into the lead. And players just deciding on their mulligans here. Alan only putting 2 back means he's probably got a pretty good hand here, so will be interesting to see how many Jordan puts back. Just the 1, so both players having a good hand in this last match, so I definitely reckon we are in for a good one. So on the line here in this tournament is the Gaming Arena have kindly created a Scar trophy, and it looks amazing. So check out their Facebook page to have a look at the prize that's on offer. And first place will also be getting a Palms Off deck box with a Scar emblem on it as well. Not to mention all of our top 8 players getting a nice Scar promo, as well as first and second getting a Scar mat, with of course the champion getting the champion mat. So here we go, our players have just finished their mulligan. Let's see what we have in store. I'm going to be looking for that one drop, something like that Mickey Mouse or Robin Hood. I'm going to see that strength be inked. And the Mickey Mouse. Not quite the Robin Hood we've seen from the last few games, but still a nice opener. Something like a Queen of Hearts will not be able to take it out in a challenge, so Alan should freely be able to quest with the Mickey next turn. I imagine there'll be a pass on over to Jordan. We will see the ink of the Diablo. Now I think in this matchup the Diablos aren't as useful because Alan's probably not going to be doing too much challenging unless it is with the Calhoun, in which case you don't want to be giving Alan access to that 2 lore anyway. And as we see the Calhoun coming down, so if Jordan was to play the Diablo instead of this broom here, you'd just be opening yourself up to a Calhoun, Banish, and 2 lore. So I like Jordan inking that one and keeping the broom here because we're going to either have to banish it or bounce it back with the snake. And we see Alan missing the quest with the Mickey here though on the last turn. Not quite sure what he's worried about here, as Mickey having that resist means that I don't think there's anything that Jordan could do to banish it on his second turn. We'll see if that comes back to hurt Alan again. Now I see the Alice now. Alrighty, now I don't mind the quest here because Jordan will either have to trade into the Calhoun, but definitely should have quested last turn with the Mickey. The only issue with this is that next turn, if the snake has banished the Mickey, then Alan probably wants to quest with this Calhoun rather than challenge, so might have liked to see the Mickey stay non-exerted that time. Because now, Alice, you want to quest and give your Calhoun +1. Maybe something like a fox taking out the Calhoun this turn. Unfortunately, that would leave Jordan's board empty, and probably wants to save the Calhoun to take out the Alice. But something like a Pluto next turn for Alan could be really useful to protect the Alice and the Calhoun. Just going to see a few 1-drops come down for Jordan here. So again, these 1-drop characters won't be able to quest and stay on the board while this Calhoun is here, because you're at risk of giving Alan 2 lore for every time he banishes. Be interesting to see if he challenges here and takes care of this snake. I think at this stage Alan's hand is a lot of uninkables, so having to ink some important cards like that Shempo, because going into turn 5 would have been good, but Alan actually not having anything to ink this turn. Whilst Alice is a very good card, she on her own doesn't really do too much, as you do need those other characters to give the lore and ward to, and on top of that she is uninkable. And if you're already running a lot of uninkable cards, can make your deck a little bit too inconsistent. Now hopefully we see something like a bodyguard here, so these Alices can quest and give each other some extra lore. Alan currently has 9, or up to 9 after questing. Now Alice questing for another 3 here, going up to 9, and most likely going to give that lore and ward to Scrooge. Alice is not a May effect, it is a you have to, so Alice does have to choose a character. Fortunately, Alan does have another one that he can give it to on the board. Jordan fortunately does have that fox in the hand, so we'll be able to use that to take down the Alice and bounce the rabbit back in the process, getting an extra card. Looks like we're going to be eking the snake here, so be interesting to see if Jordan has another 2-drop to pair with his fox, and it looks like he does. He has the Queen of Hearts, so going to be able to take out both of these Alices here. So I imagine we're going to see a okay, it just goes with the crab here actually. Quite interesting. I probably would have liked to see this crab be kept, because I think the math just works out a little bit better when this Scrooge quests next turn. Then you would have been able to give the play the crab next turn and give +3 to the Queen of Hearts, but Alan not questing anyway, so something like a Elsa here for Jordan would be very useful, as would be able to exert that Scrooge and trade into it. And then go, probably just going to come in with that Tremaine, I would imagine. So Alan having two really good characters in play. Unfortunately going to have to choose one of them to banish because of the Tremaine. Alan only at 9 lore currently. Looks like he's running out of a bit of steam here. Possibly due to some inkable issues. And Jordan slowly closing the gap. What can Alan do here? Unfortunately, there's McDuck Manors at this time, looking less than ideal into a board like this. Not even sure what would help Alan here. Potentially something like a Baymax after he challenges into this crab with the Scrooge, or maybe even a bodyguard in the form of Chenpo. We see the Calhoun come down, so that'll help slow down Jordan's board a bit. And then Baboom to take out a character again. Probably should have taken out the rabbit, as that rabbit being in play means it can be bounced from the Madam Mims and draw even more cards, as we will probably see this turn. Now we do see this Tremaine in the hand and the Fox, so will we see Jordan shift the Tremaine, quest with the Tremaine, and play the Fox to bounce it back? That would be good to see, I think, in this matchup where there isn't really any hand disruption. So Jordan could have actually just shift the Tremaine and then play the Fox and bounce it back to hand. I think that could have been a good play here for Jordan, just keeping the board under control, having those Tremaines ready in hand for next turn. Does have a bit of extra board presence now though, but I think if that McDuck Manor came in, it would be quite easy for Jordan to take out, so you're not really too concerned about having a lot of characters in play, because all of Alan's characters come in non-exerted, so you can't even challenge them anyway, so I think just having those extra Tremaines in hand would be more useful at this stage. I do see the Cogsworth here, so unfortunately Alan can't really be questing with these, given that there is the crab in play. Crab, a very powerful card in combination with the Fox, being able to give the Fox basically 7 strength. And we see Alan here taking out the crab. Very good choice, I believe. Now, if Jordan had just bounced those both Tremaines back, We could have definitely seen a challenge with a Fox and... Ooh, now we see the big Sisu take out the Cogsworths. Also a very good play here, and the Tremaine will be able to challenge and take out the Scrooge here. And then Jordan has completely cleared the board. I don't think Alan has any cards in hand, so the aggro Sapphire Steel deck just running out a bit of gas here in this finals, unfortunately for Alan. Definitely a tricky one, I think. A couple of quests early on, making it a little bit tricky, and having some favourable trades for Jordan there, just making it difficult to finish off this game for him. So Jordan next turn going to be questing for 6, so something like a goat and a bounce would finish off the game. But even if he just decides to quest it, I don't think Alan will have the cards required to win the game here. And it's looking like this third and final game will go in favour of Jordan, and most likely going to be winning the Gaming Arena Set Championships for Azurite C. Again, showing the power of the Ruby Amethyst decks after he has won both Continentals. And now, of course, our very prestigious Gaming Arena Set Champs, definitely showing its power as a top-tier deck contender. Now, I believe the only thing that would help Alan here would be something like a Be Prepared, but not playing the Ruby card and not having enough ink will not be able to play that, and the game will go to Jordan. Very well played by both players. Unfortunately, Jordan missing a lot of the Tremaine shifting, a very cool interaction between the cards, but didn't matter. He was able to take down the game and the set champs, winning that Scar Champion mat. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the games. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment. And here we can see our Golden Scar Trophy going to the winner. Well deserved. Congratulations to Jordan. And that will end our Gaming Arena Set Champs series. Be sure to keep following the channel, as we will be getting into the Good Games Greensboro games in the next few videos, so be sure to stay tuned, as a few of those will be going live for the next few days. Hopefully getting a few of them out before the DLC in Melbourne, and hopefully you're going to be streaming a few more of the Set Champs over the next few weeks. Let me know which stores I should go to try and stream some of these, and can get a few more local players on and show off some good games. Thanks again everyone for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.